NASA owns the rights to the interior of the Great Pyramid.
They also own the rights to a section of the Grand Canyon. Took a helicopter down into the Grand Canyon. They said we can't walk to this area. Area I heard had old carvings or something would be over in this area. So I started trying to walk that way. And this guy pops out of nowhere with all black on, black hat, black military outfit with no logos, and an AR-15. It tells me, halt, you can't go any further. I'm like, why? I said, what's going on? Oh, didn't they tell you couldn't come over here? I said, well, they did, but I'm thinking, I just want to see, what's over here. Can you just tell me, sir, like, why can't I come over here? He says, NASA owns the rights to this section. You can't come over here.
Do you have any theories of why that is?
This got to be technological. Starts in something with space. And then also, where else? Chaco Canyon. Same situation. They actually own the rights to those round former things that look like they might have been domes or whatever. And now there's no dome, but you can see those round circles.
Bill Gates is warning the entire U.S. that it will reach its end in a few years, and we need to get out if we want to survive. Many were horrified after a TikToker named Peggy discovered something surreal that the billionaires are doing, as they have confirmed that the end of the U.S. is here, and in just a short few years, the entire U.S. will go under, and they have already quietly planned their escape. In 2017, an eerie doomsday map was announced by Forbes as what the US could look like in just a few more years. But as this was supposed to just be a theory, it has now turned into a haunting forewarning. Apparently, Bill Gates has been purchasing farmland all over the US over the last few years, and where he has been buying lines up perfectly with the doomsday map. And allegedly a lot of his properties just so happen to be in safe zones. Allegedly his property in Arizona would be in direct line to be a beachfront home when the flood hits, with almost 90% of California to be underwater, but Bill buys the land that turns into an island, as well as beachfront homes in Nebraska and Wyoming, just to name a few. So what do the billionaires know that we don't? Of course, this is just for entertainment and could all be a coincidence.
Not only does the UN own the creepiest yard work at 666 United Nations Plaza, but they also own the highest temple in the known world. And that's on top of Mount Hermon, where the fallen angels descended. And if you go to that city right there, there's nothing there. So you back up and you look on top of the mountain where I would build a temple if I was going to build something. And if you look right there, it says Mount Hermon. That's where the book of Enoch says that the fallen angels descended to earth, right there on Mount Hermon. And if you look right on top of that and zoom in, you can see that there's a United Nations building right there. But what the creepiest thing is the pipes that go down into the ground for the air shafts, because there's a complete underground city sitting right inside that mountain right there. When you dig a city into a mountain, you're going to need air, and that's what those air shafts are for right there on the side of the UN building, to supply air inside the mountain. This city right here that held 20,000 people, it had air shafts all over it, and they just found this in Turkey, right around the corner. This is a city inside of a mountain just outside of Jerusalem. It's known as Herod's Palace, or Herodium. And that right there holds all of the people that lived in Herodium, and that stadium right there holds 300 people. I'm talking about those air shafts right there. Air intakes and exhaust, it's definitely a thing. This would mean there's a lot of people living in the ground underneath you. Just a brief note about Jerusalem, that King Solomon had 80,000 people cutting stone in the mountain, 70,000 people hauling stone, and 30,000 people telling them what to do in the mountain. Okay, so what's underneath the UN building on top of Mount Hermon? Well, if you click on the little magnifying glass and you type in Hermon Stream Natural Reserve, it's going to take us to the bottom of Mount Hermon, and that's called Peneus. But if you zoom into it, you can see where the Jordan River starts right there and runs all the way down to the Dead Sea. And then if you click on that little man right there, it'll make the streets light up, and you click on that blue dot. Trust me, I've clicked on all the other ones. And it's going to show us that there was a temple complex built right along these caves under the mountain, or right here at the bottom of it. And inside of the mountain right there, behind that temple, there was the altar that was built. That was where they made all the sacrifices. And if you scroll around to the right, it'll show you where the Jordan River begins and comes out from underneath the mountain.
According to the Freemasonic author Albert Pike, the ancient mysteries were alive in Portugal well until the 13th century AD. This is the initiation well in Sinta, Portugal. This 88-foot deep well was never built to be used as a well. This place was built specifically for secret ceremonial purposes. The owner of the castle in the wells was a well-known Freemason. With the assistance of the Italian architect Luigi Manini, he designed and constructed the 4-acre property with these enigmatic buildings and mysterious parks, complete with underground tunnels and cave systems. All of the structures erected in this place are meant to serve the purposes of initiations into many symbols which are linked to Freemasonry, alchemy, and Rosicrucian legacies. It is also rumored that the Templars hid out in Portugal.
There were some interesting videos that came up on my feed this week. People were talking about a NOTAM alert in the Kwajalein Atoll, and a NOTAM alert is like some kind of air danger if you're an air crew or something flying into a military base, and they thought that a went off. Well, there's some things they don't know about the Kwajalein Atoll. That's the site of the space monitoring system known as the Space Fence, and as the lore goes, that is our UFO monitoring system. People don't realize that there was a series of facilities across the 32nd parallel in the United States called the NAVSPACER, the Naval Space Surveillance System, that was able to surveil anything down to the size of a basketball in space or in orbit. And the new facility, the Space Fence, can supposedly monitor anything in the atmosphere or in space down to the size of a softball. It's powered by artificial intelligence, so they can model out where things are going, their trajectories, and it's just the bee's knees. And I say about this because back in the day, there were hacker groups, hacker freaker groups back in the 80s and 90s. And these were old school nerds that would try to one-up one another. And there was quite a bit of activity back in the 90s to try to figure out what was going on with UFOs, to break into government facilities, NASA, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, things like that, and try to see what kind of classified information they could find about UFOs.
Did you know the CIA faked a vampire attack on the Philippines? And yes, it actually happened. Small Filipino groups start to support communism and rebel against wealthy Filipinos, and America did not like that. The CIA sent one of their best officers, Edward Lansdale, to crush the rebellion. Edward chose to exploit Filipino belief in the Aswang, a monster from folklore that drains human. The undercover CIA captured a rebel and put punctures on his neck to make it look like a vampire bite and threw him on a trail. And of course, the rebels found the body and were terrified that an Aswang was on the loose. Believe it or not, it worked. The very next day, the scared rebels left the hilltop, losing their greatest advantage.
Sora AI.
I can't wait to start using it.
The new open AI is the most terrifying thing ever.
What is this?
It's so realistic. It's freaky. It's only been a year in the making since the first version came out.
Yeah.
It's progressing way too fast. The freakiest part to me, the hands.
Yeah.
AI does not know how to mimic hands. Movement and stuff. Like the one with the old lady blowing out the candles on the cake.
At first glance, it looks great.
And there's a lady in the background clapping, and all of a sudden her hand starts doing like this.
Ew, ew.
The hands at the back turn into a club at one point. Like, it's wacky.
I'm telling you, AI
can create hands.
I really think AI is some dark entity.
When you say dark entity, what do you mean by that?
Well, the phrase "nothing is new under the sun." I think this technology has existed forever. We've talked about like the fallen angels and the eternal wisdom that they brought. I think this is just part of that. I really do. And I feel like it's just a new tool that they're going to use for deception. Because I mean, there's no boundaries of like what it can do.
Built like a doomsday bunker down there?
We're working on some cool stuff. So we got a little underground part in the guest house. I'm trying to get more land kind of like a couple hours away from where I live right now. I'm trying to get like 1,000 acres and do some cool stuff.
So are you prepping for like a potential...
the world's crazy.
It is right now.
Shit. It's crazy, but
you got room in that bunker if anything goes wrong?
Sure.
Oh, I got y'all going right here. You see that person right there? Take a good look at these again. One more time. Look at them close. If you ever done any kind of construction, you know what core drilling is, and you know how much it sucks. Look how the little cores come out. Look right there. Look at that one. Look up here. You see that? Look what I'm saying. Look at like this one right here. Looked like it wasn't even finished, man. Like they couldn't get all the way down in there, man. Those core drills, those things are no fun. While we're on the topic of giants, look at this little typical mountain. Notice the patterns on it, okay? Structure of an epidermis, which is your skin, actually. Look right there. I mean, that is so neat, you know, but that's just skin, and that's just a mountain. No big deal. A couple more. These could be something else. Pretty neat looking little rock right there, for sure. Even got the eyelashes. So the question is, my friends, what in the core drilled these 4 things, and why didn't that dude finish that one right there, man?
It's the big story no one knows. Those weren't extraterrestrial. Those are ours. Those are coming out of the Lockheed Skunk Works and Northrop and EG&G and Raytheon. I know where they're made. I know who's worked on them. That's an alternative energy device. That is not consuming anything you're burning. If you were to put something that was stationary, in other words, sitting at your house or in your car, that was pulling that kind of energy out of what's called the 0 point field of energy, you'd have no power bill, there'd be no pollution, and within 20 years, all poverty on Earth would be over. If you have a handful of global super powerful interests that are controlling $1,000 trillion worth of assets, fossil fuels, nuclear, internal combustion engine, car engines, jets, rockets, all the oil, gas, coal in the ground, all the commodities trading based on that, it's well over $1 quadrillion. Whether it's 2023 or 1953, those interests, which actually have more power than we, the people, the Congress and the presidency and what have you, they're the ones calling the shots on this, I assure you.
I don't know, man, but how long do you think they can keep insulting our intelligence before we've had enough? I mean, they're teaching us at very young ages that these things are mountains. They call them mesas, flat top, tabletop mountains. It's just how they are. They teach us to go against what our own eyes see. What we believe deep down, we second guess it, and we go with the status quo. Come on. I think it's about time we trust our eyes, we wake up, realize that things aren't what they seem. Why would they lie about something like this? Well, if you knew about the giant trees, that they were cut down, you would have to know about the Nephilim. To know about the Nephilim, you'd have to know about the Book of Enoch. To know about the Book of Enoch would mean you would know that they took some stories out of the Bible. And if you realize that, then you realize that everything you've ever been told is a lie.